We'll wait just a minute for everybody to join. All right. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and drop the PDF in the chat here for anybody who wants to follow along. Give me just a minute as I do that. Can everybody give me a thumbs up in the chat if they can hear me? Yeah. We have thumbs up or we have hands raising. Perfect. Love it. Excellent. Perfect. Give me just a moment. Grab that document. Perfect. The PDF version of this webinar is in the chat. Yeah. And excellent. Yep. All right. Perfect. Well, we're ready to get started. Thank you all for joining. Jermaine, you can move to the next slide. Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining the Grad Rate webinar today. My name is Samantha Thompson. I am super pleased that you all are here. I am a program specialist with the Assessment and Accountability team. I manage cohort grad rates. In the future, for any questions or support needed regarding cohort grad rates, feel free to reach out to me. Oftentimes, it's just better to call just because sending PII through email is a no-go. So don't do it. All right. Just a little housekeeping items. Please submit your questions through the Q&A box. These PowerPoint slides are shared in a PDF in the chat. I'm going to do my best to drop it in the chat again. It's a little hard to navigate between making sure that I am on track with my slides and drop them in, but I'm going to do my best. And the presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the landing pages of the 3 applications, the Cohort Grad Rate Preview, the 4 and 5-year Cohort Grad Rate Appeals application. So let me bear with me just a second. All right, so before we jump in, I want to take a moment to walk through the purpose and agenda for today. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive overview of the cohort graduation rate, and more importantly, to help ensure that your data is accurate. We are aware that this process can be detailed and small errors can have a big impact. So we want to make sure that you feel confident navigating it. We're going to start with the why, the federal requirements behind the cohort graduation rate. Then we're going to move into the what, which is what a cohort actually is. And from there, we'll cover the who, focusing on which students should and should not be included in your cohort. And then we'll walk through the when, reviewing the grad rate timeline, followed by the where, and we're going to look at the application and how to review your data. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with common errors and key reminders to help you avoid delays and keep things moving smoothly. Big difference there. All right, so we're going to quickly review the why behind cohort grad rates. A brief reminder of where these requirements come from. Cohort graduation rates are defined in federal law under ESEA, which ensures a consistent way to calculate and report graduation outcomes. The 4 or 5-year cohort graduation rate includes students who earn a regular high school diploma within 4 years based on an adjusted cohort that accounts for students who transfer in or out over time. It is also a requirement that states report cohort graduation rates and set long-term goals. In Idaho, the State Board of Education has established targets of 85.9% for the 4-year rate and 88.3% for the 5-year rate by 2029. These requirements help ensure transparency, comparability, and accountability across schools and districts. Next, we will review what a cohort is, what a cohort assignment is, and the calculation that is used to create the cohort graduation rate. Starting in 9th grade, every student who enters high school for the first time is placed into a cohort. That cohort is tracked over 4 years, or 5 for the 5-year. It doesn't stay exactly the same, though. Students who transfer in are added, and students who transfer out, move out of the country, or pass away are removed. So the cohort changes over time, but it always stays tied to the original group of students who started in 9th grade. The Idaho Department of Education assigns students to cohorts based on their initial enrollment date and grade level as reported through the state student data system IC. Each school year's cohort includes students who first enrolled in high school at a particular grade during that year. You can track a student's cohort year by looking at the year they first entered 9th grade. For example, my son started 9th grade in the 22-23 school year. He belongs and will graduate in the 25-26 cohort, which means any student that started in that 22-23 year is expected to finish within the 4 years. This slide is a reminder of the entities that do not report enrollment to IC and therefore do not set a student's cohort. If a student attends 9th grade at one of these schools and then transfers to an Idaho public school the next year, their cohort would be determined by the grade level they're enrolled in. So if they enter public school as a 10th grader, then they would be in their 2nd year of the cohort. The cohort grad rate is calculated by dividing the number of graduates by the total number of students in the cohort, including both graduates and non-graduates. Students who exited the cohort are not included in the denominator, while students who transferred into the cohort during the 4-year period are included. I'm going to pause here for any questions. I'm also going to go ahead and drop that PDF once again for anybody who's just joined. And we'll give it a minute for questions, just in case anyone's typing. No questions? Okay. Excellent. So let me get back on track here. Give me just a second. Perfect. Next, we will look at who should and should not be in your cohort. We will review graduates and exit codes, as well as federally required documentation for each exit code. So who is a graduate? It's pretty simply put, a graduate is a cohort member who receives a regular high school diploma by the end of 4 years or 5 years for the 5-year cohort. A regular high school diploma is one that fully aligns with the Idaho State Content Standards. Graduates can have one of 4 exit codes, and these include summer graduates, but only if they graduated before the beginning of the next school year. Students in special education can fall into any of the four graduation exit codes. And it's important to remember that having an IEP, receiving accommodations, or taking applied classes does not prevent a student from earning a regular diploma. If a student meets the standard graduation requirements, they are considered a graduate, just like any other student. There are a couple of exceptions to be aware of. If the student exits under the 3B code, meaning they've reached the maximum age, they are not counted as a graduate. You'll often see this with students in the 18 to 21 life skills programs. Similarly, if a student exits under 4C, meaning they completed a different set of requirements than the state standard graduation requirements, they are also not counted as a graduate. The table on this slide has the most commonly used exit codes that would move a student out of a cohort. The codes on the left already have data in IC that verify the reason for exiting. So as long as that data is correct, LEAs should not need to do anything. They will be removed from the cohort automatically. The codes on the right leave some gaps as far as IC is concerned. Basically, LEAs need to verify that this happened. This is where supporting documentation comes in. I'm going to review exit codes in both categories, starting with the simple ones, automatic out-of-cohort removals. 1B and 2A are by far the most common in this category. If the student moves to another public school within Idaho, IC catches that because both schools report to the state. In that case, the student is automatically switched once the receiving school uploads their enrollment records. If you are still seeing that a student is in your cohort, that means that the receiving school hasn't uploaded their records, or the student never actually enrolled, or what does happen is that they were enrolled under a different EDU ID. In any case, you will contact the receiving school for clarification. If you do that and find the student never showed up, the next step is to contact their parent or guardian. Do not try to manually remove this student. IC trumps any type of supporting documentation, such as a records request or an enrollment verification form. The only way that a student can be removed under 1B or 2A is if IC does this automatically. Next is 5F. If you have a foreign exchange student who is leaving your school or returning home, you shouldn't have to do anything as long as they are correctly identified in IC. This is a pretty common mistake, so I want to make sure we hit home on this. If they're still in your cohort, you can resubmit the latest IC. Oh, sorry, I lost my place. You can resubmit the latest IC file during the preview window. If it's during the appeals window, then an appeal will have to be made, and you can submit a copy of their visa or written confirmation from the program agency or host family. I want to clarify, it's visa, not passport. That will be denied if you submit a passport. As an extra note, and I'll say it again, no documentation is needed for these students if they are properly identified in IC. And finally, we have 6A. If you have a student who passes away mid-cohort, they should also automatically move out of the cohort. If they haven't, then follow the same directions as foreign exchange students for the preview appeals window. If you do appeal, your supporting documentation can either be a written record or response from the parent or guardian or a copy of the obituary. Bear with me just a moment, everyone. Just a moment. Oh, okay. Okay, the Zoom chats, yeah. Yeah, that's correct. That the chat is disabled and that the questions just go to Q&A only. I should have clarified that earlier. I apologize. Thank you. Yeah, we can. All right, so next we're going to move to manual removals. If a student transfers to an LEA that does not submit files to IC, such as a private school or federal or state setting, then the sending school must essentially prove that the student made it there. To do this, submit either a records request or enrollment verification form from the receiving school. One important note is that in order for the student to be moved out of the cohort, the receiving entity must offer a path to a regular high school diploma. That means for some entities, you may need to contact them to get clarification on this point. For exit code 2C, same process applies to students who transfer to an out-of-state LEA. You'll submit a records request or enrollment verification form from the receiving school. And once again, the entity must offer a path to a regular high school diploma, and it may be worth your time to contact them if this is unclear. All right, let's talk about homeschooling. So you'll use the 2E exit code when a student transfers out to be homeschooled. To remove the student from your cohort, the sending school must have written confirmation of intent to homeschool signed and dated by the parent or guardian. The department has created an intent to homeschool template, and we strongly encourage you to use it in these situations. It's important to also understand the difference between true homeschooling and students who are using an online or virtual program. These are not the same, and reporting needs to reflect that distinction. Another area on homeschooling that often causes confusion. If a student is primarily homeschooled, but takes a few classes with your school, they should not be included in your cohort. And in these cases, you would want to locate the PH school field and flag it in NIC. This will automatically remove your students from their cohort. So to make this really clear, homeschool documentation should not be needed for a dual enrolled student, and a dual enrolled student should not be coded as 2E. Only a student that's leaving your LEA to homeschool should be coded as 2E. There are a handful of other exit codes in which the graduation status can be unclear. But the easiest way to think about it is, did the student earn a regular high school diploma within 4 years, or 5 for the 5-year cohort? If a student re-enrolls the following year, drops out, is expelled, goes to an adult education program, or stops attending, and you don't know why, they did not earn a diploma and they must be considered a non-graduate. Similarly, students who delay graduation to access fast forward funds are not graduates because they did not earn their diploma by the end of their cohort. Before we move from this slide, I do want to emphasize the 3D exit code in particular. If a student leaves to pursue their GED, then their exit code is transferred to adult education, not transferred to homeschool or transferred to another public school. This exit code also means they remain in your cohort as a non-graduate because a GED is not a regular high school diploma. I'm going to pause here for any questions. Give everyone a minute. There's one in there.
Says more of a technical observation. Chat is disabled for the session, so I think these are not able to drop messages. Okay, you already said that one. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Are there requirements for those who transfer out to be considered unenrolled?
Let me think about make sure I understand the question. Are there requirements for those who transfer out to be considered unenrolled? So
These requirements.
Yeah, so as far as on the documentation side, I'm not sure if that's exactly what you mean, but I will touch on that. On the documentation side, yes, so depending on, again, what the transfer is, right? If it is if it's an out-of-state transfer, then absolutely the requirements are a records request or an enrollment verification from the receiving school. If it is a transfer to another local LEA, then IC should pick up that student's enrollment and be able to remove that student from your cohort automatically. I don't know if that answered the question wholly, so you can comment again if that did not. This This person says, we have had younger students take high school courses that are not of age to even be in a cohort yet. How does this impact our grad rate? Well, this is a great question. So if they are younger, and they're, so you said, take high school that are not of age to be in a cohort yet. Yeah, right. So their cohort sets when they start high school. So they would really be more like, yeah, I might have to dig into that a little bit just to get you a more specific answer. But if they haven't been identified in IC as starting high school, then their cohort is not set. So they're more like a dual enrolled student, but younger because yeah. So Andrea, I can get back to you on that to make sure I am understanding the full scope of it, and we can talk through that a little bit. Um, if we miscoded a student with a wrong exit reason, how do we correct that? Oh, great question. You should be able to log into the preview application, which I'm going to share with you in a little bit, how to walk through that. But you can in IC, you can correct the exit reason. And later, if it is not, for whatever reason didn't happen, you can appeal that student during the appeal window, which I will touch on in a few minutes. But either you would correct it in IC or you would submit documentation with your appeal to fix that student's exit reason. You answered this during the second session. I had typed it before you presented. I love that. Dual enrolled student, which school is the student a cohort in? So Margaret, so for that case, the student, if a student is for like a wherever they're taking their primary classes at, so if they are, say, taking the majority of their classes at one school and taking a CTE class with you guys, the primary school would be responsible for that student. The PH flag indicator is for private and homeschool students. I want to say that I need to look into whether or not it can be used in that case as well. But I believe so, but I'm going to have to confirm that for you. So I can do that also. And the cohort is set by the student demographic file. I'm not sure that's a question. Oh, Amy Sigler is telling me. Student demographic file. Got it. Thank you. If they are taking high school classes, their student demographic file should still report their actual grade level. And then, is there an all-inclusive list of codes that are available? If so, where do we obtain that? Great question. Absolutely. There is a documentation, like a supporting documentation file on all the landing pages. Additionally, we have business rules, we have frequently asked question documents, and they're all on the landing pages of all three of those applications. I live by those documents to just constantly refer back to all the time. I highly suggest you read through them. They're very, very helpful, and they have all of the codes and everything you could need. Okay. Perfect. Let me get back to my slides here. All right, we're going to go through the when. Let's see. So we're going to walk through the timeline of for the cohort graduation rate windows, specifically when each application opens, what happens during each window, and when you should be reviewing and updating your student data. Given calendar year, there are 3 windows. The largest window is January through October, with this year being an exception due to some system enhancements we had going on. And this is the time where you can review your cohort. If you notice mistakes, you can resubmit previous IC files. And if students are coded as transfer, you can submit supporting documentation so they are removed before the appeals window opens. The appeals window begins in late October and lasts 2 weeks. This is the time to submit an appeal for students who should be removed from your cohort. So if you thought a student dropped out, but you received a records request from out of state, this is an ideal time to correct that. And finally, the reappeals window is the first week of December, and this is the time to resubmit any returned or denied appeals with more information. This year's windows are as follows. We are currently in the preview window, and that will close as soon as the appeals window opens. This year, the appeals window will open on October 26th and close on November 6th. The reappeals window will then open on December 1st and close on the 7th. If we expect any delay in these windows, which can happen if there are issues with the October IC upload, then I will communicate that as soon as possible. We're now going to review how to access the preview application and some system enhancements. You can access the application, you can access the application from the Education Application Portal in IC, or by clicking on the link in this slide or in the cohort grad rate manuals. If you need to gain access through the admin tool, do that by contacting your district's technology coordinator. Once you're in the preview application, you can click on cohort members, and then you can select which cohort you would like to view. For those of you who are familiar with this screen, you may notice a few updates to submit documentation window. Oh, bear with me, I lost my notes. One of the first improvements we made was ensuring that once you upload a file, it remains in place if you need to add additional documentation. We also addressed one of the most common issues we see, documents missing a corresponding date. To help with this, we've added a bold red reminder that all documents must include a date that closely aligns with the IC exit date. Overall, these updates are intended to reduce confusion around what has and hasn't been uploaded and to create a smoother workflow for LEAs. I'm going to review some common errors and key considerations. When submitting documentation, there are several common issues that can delay the appeals process. One of the most frequent is incomplete documentation, as I just mentioned, especially missing dates. This occurs across all document types and often results in LEAs needing to spend additional time correcting and resubmitting materials. Another common issue is the incorrect use of the PH school indicator. When the flag is not applied appropriately, students will remain in your cohort when they should not, leading to unnecessary follow-up. We also see graduation statuses in IC not being updated accurately. It's important to note that meeting standard graduation requirements is different from completing alternative or adaptive programs, and this distinction directly impacts how students are counted. And as I mentioned before, for foreign exchange students with a 5F exit code, if the most recent enrollment record reflects the correct exit code, you should not have to submit an appeal or documentation. Additionally, it's important to understand the difference between true homeschooling and schooling at home or completing an online program. This distinction is critical for accurate reporting and appeals. And finally, for in-state public school transfers, if a student remains in the sending school's cohort after transferring, this should be resolved directly with the receiving school by verifying the EDU ID. All right, I'm going to pause again for questions. We've got some questions in here. Let me come down.
Thanks for sitting.
Yeah. So Beth asked if things are submitted in the preview application, when are they reviewed? I'm reviewing them weekly. So I'm trying to take care of a good handful of them week over week. Will we be able to open and view the uploaded documents going forward, or they just stay for your team to view, but we can't view? So it's both. It's for both of us. It's for you guys to know what's been uploaded, and then it's also for us on the SEA side, because it was a common issue we were running into. So you should be able to see if somebody else, Anita, went in there and uploaded a document, and we needed further documentation. You should be able to see what was already in there, as well as we can. Are border and students included in the cohort? Great question. I don't have that answer. But I will find out from you. I don't, it says anonymous, but I want to say no. I don't, because I don't recognize it, but I will find out. If you want to drop your email address, if you're comfortable doing that, or you can just reach out to me. My information was on the host slide. Call me directly and we can talk through it. Is the distinction between homeschool versus schooling at home explained in a manual? Kim, it is like I believe it's in the business rules pretty clearly. But I think it's just important to note that it's sometimes the LEA isn't sure, right? And a parent might say, I'm taking my kiddo out to homeschool, or to homeschool them, and then come to find out they're really going to get a GED, or they're doing a virtual program. And so it's important that distinction is made as much as possible and to the best of your ability. But I believe it's in the business rules, or yeah, I think it's in the business rules about the distinction. Schools can contact us, IC coordinators, if they suspect a duplicate EDUID. Yeah, thank you for that. We had some issues. I just touched on this real quick last year at the very end of the reappeals window, where I had denied documentation for an in-district transfer because it should be picked up by IC. Come to find out, they were duplicate IDs. To get those merged in time and sort through that can be challenging when we're on a time crunch. And so I just definitely would, yeah, I would take note of those right away. Anita says, I understand that we can see there's a file name, but we can't open the document and see what was uploaded. Has that been fixed? Yes, it has. It should be. That was, yes. Yeah. Okay, got it. I was a little slow to read. Best fix ever. I love that, Anita. That makes me so happy to hear. It was a challenge on our side too, right? Because when we wanted an additional document, we couldn't see the previous one. So it's really helpful for both of us. Yes, and of course, don't send email student information ever. Yeah, don't do it. We don't want it. Just call me. Just call. We can talk through it. Yeah, I think that, and then the anonymous attendee who asked about border and students, like I said, if you want to just call me, and that way I can get more information and we can talk through that. And then Andrea also. Do we have any other questions? And I didn't go through the appeals application. It is very similar, but there will be more trainings as we move into the appeals window. I just wanted to make sure that I hosted this training as we are in the preview application time period, and with a couple little enhancements that we have, I think it's important to communicate that. For context, border and students are those who reside on the other side of the Idaho border. Oh, okay. But they attend school. There are a few of them around Idaho. So thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. If they're attending, and maybe Amy has better information that she wants to jump in and answer, but I believe if their cohort is set in our school, then they are part of the cohort of the Idaho school. Yeah. I have not heard otherwise. But thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or feedback? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody hopping on today. As I shared in the earlier slide, I'm happy to go over student challenges or questions or go through those sticky situations with you anytime. Just call. Happy to do it. And yeah, thanks so much for joining our webinar today. And thank you to Jamen for helping me. She's on the background.